Well, here we are again, folks. This video is really a redo of a video, and it's to talk about the Haldimand County. Now, initially when I first thought about doing this video, what I was going to do is I was going to insert sound bites and documentation and stuff to prove. And I thought, you know what? I'm really terrible at doing this video editing stuff. It's just kind of not my thing. So I'm going to upload one of the audio files, which is the entire conversation of the video or of the tape that I'm talking about. And then a lot of the stuff, if I'm quoting somebody from it, I will tell you that I have the email, and that's how I'm quoting it. It's not propaganda in any way. This is 100% as accurate as I could possibly be. So what is this all about? Well, back in 2008, I purchased a property here in Haldimand County. Quite frankly, I had a boat business, and I was moving it here, and I was supposed to set up operations here. And that is the beginning of the end of my company, to be quite honest with you. Not because Haldimand County itself was a bad thing, because quite frankly, I love it here. I just think some of the people who are here really don't deserve to be where they are. Now, I guess what I need to talk about is when I purchased a property, and we're not going to talk about the people who I bought it from or you know, what transpired in the transaction. I can tell you that I purchased a property and the seller provided me with a document that said they had used it commercially and the entire time they've owned it, and they never stopped using it commercially. All right, so they said that and some other things. Now, the interesting part was, after I purchased the property, I got in there, and probably about a year into it, a county employee stops by and says, hey, you know, you should know that some of this stuff that you were given was false, and you should look into it. Now, at the time, I was kind of alarmed by it, but I thought, okay. So I turned around, and next thing I know, my taxes changed. And my taxes dropped dramatically, like from $5 or $6 grand to like $3,000. And I'm thinking, wow, what the heck's going on here? So I called the county and I said, listen, I'm understanding there was some sort of hearing with my property. Is this true? Now, I spoke to Pam Doosling and to Miss Nancy Lamb, and Miss Doosling actually went around and she went to different departments trying to find out if anybody had anything to do with my property, and it all came back negative. So I guess it was about, I guess it was about half a year later, my accountant calls me up and says, hey Randy, listen, I was going through your paperwork and I found this unopened envelope, and it was to do with a hearing for your property. And lo and behold, it's in a letter from Miss Nancy Lamb saying that there's an application for a 357 hearing. Now, basically what it is the owner, at the time, back in April I think it was, predating my purchase, had applied to the county to get his taxes, commercial taxes back, saying that he had stopped using it commercially, so he'd need to get his money back. Now, the unfortunate part about that is you have one document when the seller sells you, it says, I've always used it commercially. You have another document that says, I stopped using it commercially. If you are the unlucky soul that owns this property, and one of these documents turns out to be false, like I said, and if you're that unlucky soul, then you could possibly lose your legal nonconforming status. All right, so one document saying one thing, one document saying the other. So I turn around now and I contact Miss Nancy Lamb. Now, the tape recording I'm talking about is a tape recording I have in my possession, which is I recorded Miss Nancy Lamb when I called her. Now, there are going to be people who are going to say, oh, that was in poor taste. How could you ever do that? I don't know. Let's see. The county is calling me a liar, but I have a tape recording that says it's 100% true. So if I didn't have that tape recording, I'd be a liar. Because I have that tape recording, they're the liars. Just making that clear, okay? Anyway, and the Supreme Court of Canada has ruled a long time ago that when it comes to a tape recording, as long as one person is aware of the tape recording taking place, then it's acceptable. And I know that a couple of lawyers that when this thing came up blew a gasket because they didn't like the fact that I had this tape recording. Anyway, so when you listen to the tape, and I'm going to put it on YouTube so it can be entrenched in time, when you go to YouTube and you listen to it, what you will hear is Miss Lamb initially saying that it's in storage and that she's, you know, why do I need it? And I know that she's lying to me, so I'm just kind of trying to get her to talk more and give me more information. And then I don't know about you, but you're going to get the feeling that as she gets talking, that suddenly she's got the document or she's filling out the document. And then towards the end, she says, oh, there's no signature on this document. I might have to sign it because I could get in a lot of trouble for this. And so lo and behold, the document gets faxed to me. And when the document gets faxed to me, this is fact. She faxes me the document, and on that document, there is a squiggle, and it says, per the owner of the property. Now, what happens is, after that, we turn around and we get into a bit of a fight with the county, and we're going, hey, look at this. This is not legal. It's come up in a lawsuit that your guy did this. And of course, the county is denying it all the way along. Nothing like this ever happened. What are you talking about? Now, the interesting thing is that during discoveries of the original civil action over this case, the owner, who was the daughter, she actually swears out, and I might add that she's a reserve OPP officer, apparently. She swears under oath that she went in and filled out this document herself. Now, what's the sort of thing that you would want to know this for? Well, the fact is, you have one document that the original owner signed saying, I've continued to use this document or this property commercially. And then you have this document, the 357 document, that says, I've stopped using the property, I want my taxes back. Now, if you were her and you wanted to make a lawsuit go away, you would say, I don't know anything about this document. I have no idea who filled that document out. She would be better off, because then the affidavit would stand by itself. Instead, she chose to tell the truth and say, I filled out this document. Yes, I did it for my dad. Yes, it was my dad stopped using it and we were applying for a tax credit. So actually, one is false and the other one is true. So she actually says that. She doesn't say that false and true, but she just says, I don't know how it came to be that these two documents existed. So all these technical things aside, the reality is that this 357 actually existed. All right? So now you got this in discovery coming out. So you would think at this point the county is being told that one of their employees is forging this document. You would think they want to do something about it, except they don't. They deny, deny, deny. In fact, one of the other accusations that comes up is that we believe I applied for the very same document, a 357. I applied for this document, and suddenly it disappears. Wow. Why does it disappear? I don't know. Maybe somebody's trying to protect their jobs? This is speculation. I'm being very honest about this. This is strictly speculation. And it was accused at the county during discoveries, but we couldn't prove that the document ever disappeared. The interesting thing is, I know I filled out this document because I was like a child. I couldn't find a pen at the time. I filled it all out in magic marker and faxed it to them. But I can't find the document. My lawyer's since passed away. Probably never find the document. But I know I filled out the document. So we got to give the county that one because I can't actually find it. So I can't really say, hey, you guys destroyed it, because we can't really find it. But if I ever find it, it won't make a difference, because the county themselves don't really care even when they do something wrong. So now you ask yourself, well, so what is this hoopla about? So in 2014, I go to the county and say, hey, this is what's happened. Your employee did this. Now, I should add that I did have a meeting with Mark Merrick and Karen General, and in that meeting, they did say if they had to break the law in order to get out of a lawsuit, they would do it. It's pretty similar to that wording, actually. And I know they're saying right now, oh, we're going to sue him for what he just said. But unfortunately, guys, when you tape record something and you keep it for posterity, just saying, I got it on tape. Yes, I do, folks. I have the whole thing on tape. Now, I'm not going to put that one online because, to be quite honest with you, it's way too long. That meeting was forever with the two of them. But I'm going to tell you that that's what they basically were saying. They did say that if I could find a piece of paper that they might be able to do something. When I said, hey, but you just said you can't do that because there's no legal mechanism, they said, well, we would find a way. Yeah, I'll bet you'll find a way. So anyway, my lawyer was kind of shocked, actually, to hear that kind of discussion taking place by them. Anyway, so now you have, in 2014, you have Mr. Marinick actually saying to me that if you make these accusations against us, we will bring the full resources of Haldimand County upon you. You have Miss General saying that if you consider the slanderous remarks and stuff, we're going to seek litigation against you. Litigation or sue me, something along that word. Now, I have these emails to show this. All right. Well, you'd think, wow, this is all hearsay at this point, right? Yeah, no, not so much. Because you see, I do a Freedom of Information search with the county. And what that is I ask them for a whole bunch of documents and stuff because I'm now trying to find out how much they knew about this. And the first thing you will notice about Haldimand County, when you ask for this stuff, they'll give you a bill for about $20,000 if you want to get this stuff. They'll ask you to pay up 20 grand to get it. Not just once, but twice, with 2 separate incidents I've asked for. Wow, 20 grand. I know the Freedom of Information officers, or the people that regulate freedom of information in the province, when I went to them and said what was going on, they said that's ridiculous. They can't be charging these kind of money. I could go through appeal process, but I got all the time in the world to waste fighting the county, right? Anyway, but 2 things happen. First thing is, the Freedom of Information officer, Miss Shaw, says, one of the requests was, have you ever had anybody ask you any questions pertaining to this property? And she says, no, we have not. She's a Freedom of Information officer, so she's supposed to be telling the truth or giving you information that's supposed to be the truth, right? Except that during discoveries, the owner that sold me the property comes up with a letter from Miss Shaw that speaks about the property, talks about zoning and stuff on the property, which is stuff that she shouldn't be giving this person. But wait, Miss Shaw just said, as part of the Freedom of Information request, that nobody else has contacted her about it. But that's in stark contrast to the fact that at discoveries, we actually have a letter. We've asked the county about this, and they've never really responded to it. They've just ignored, why would you lie about this? There's been no response from the county. Anyway, so there is some good that came out of talking to the Freedom of Information people. You see, what happened, now I want you to pay attention to this, because you're thinking all this stuff is conspiracy. I'm sure you're thinking that. But what happens is we get an email that is from Mark Marinick to the general manager, Karen General, and he says, oh, way back then, we did this kind of stuff all the time. We've changed policies now. She filled out that document, and well, she shouldn't have, and that's really what this is all about. The county knows that their employee falsified a signature and has been passing the document off as a true document. But wait a minute, that's in 2010. Here we are in 2014, and the county's threatening that if I go public, or I should keep this slanderous discussion up, they're going to sue me. That would make it a conspiracy to defraud. You know it's true what I'm saying, but you're lying about the whole thing. That's the general manager, and that is the treasurer of Haldimand County. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so at this point you're thinking, wow, I got all the evidence to go after them. So you're thinking, why haven't I contacted the OPP? Well, interesting, we should actually have this discussion. Because in 2010, I went to the OPP on my original property, and I made the accusation of fraud and a bunch of other things. And I also made the accusation about the mayor, as you've heard in another video. And that was all done at the same time. My apologies, that's wrong. At that time, it was strictly about the property and the fraud around the documentation with the county. The mayor issue didn't take place at that time. So an investigation gets going. The first officer investigates. She's finding there's fraud and a bunch of other things. So we're waiting for this. Now this has taken like a bloody year for it to go through, right? It's like nothing happens fast. Anyway, so what happens is all of a sudden it goes quiet at the OPP station. I mean, you could hear the crickets. Nothing was being done on this case. So I happen to be talking in 2014 after I get threatened by the county. I go to the municipal affairs guy that deals with the municipal law and stuff pertaining to counties and things like that through the provincial government. And I said, hey, listen, this is what's going on. I have this documentation. And he goes, oh my God, this is municipal fraud. You need to go to the OPP immediately with this. I can't even talk to you about this. All right, so I go to the OPP. I said, look, boys, you got this ongoing investigation. Like, we need to talk about this. And then now I've got this new information where I've been threatened and stuff. And what does the officer say? That's the sound of silence, because he had no idea what I was talking about. In fact, they could not find the file. They could not find the videotapes. None of the investigation stuff. Gone. Everything's missing from the original investigation. What happened to it? Well, I don't know. We spent another year trying to get this stuff. And then it's now handed over to a senior criminal investigation guy at Haldimand County. Okay. So now you think it's going to get a little bit more traction, right? Apparently not at the OPP station here. That officer investigates, and at that time, we say to him, you know, the mayor may or may not have gotten some money or involved in golf days or whatever the hell took place back then, but I was given the information. I took it right to the OPP at that exact time, and I said, you should investigate this at the same time. Well, of course, that officer comes back and says, well, the witness didn't come forward. We talked to the guy you talked to, and he doesn't want to talk. So let me get this straight. The counselor who told me the mayor got paid, which may or may not be true, by the way, because the mayor says he never got paid, he now recants this story. So does the OPP try and verify that story in any way? Does it go anywhere else and talk to anybody else? Nope, not at all. Says, actually, if you want to take this to the media, maybe splash it in the media might do more good. Because clearly the OPP didn't want to investigate it. So then he gets to investigate my case. And he comes back to me and he has a meeting with me and he says, listen, Randy, you know, I know it's been a long haul and stuff, but he says, these people have all lawyered up. So basically our case has come to an end. So let me see if I get this right. Let's do an analogy here, because I like analogy. You're a bank robber. You just went and robbed CIBC. And your 1970 Nova SS black was seen at the scene of the crime. You drive the car to your driveway and you park in your driveway, leaving, I don't know, say $100,000 on the front seat. And then you take your mask off, you leave that on the seat. You go inside, you hang your semi-automatic rifle on the one shelf, your couple $1 million in a bag, and you go in and watch another season of Cops, of all things. Bad boys, you know. And the cops show up to your door, and they knock on your door, and you go to the door, and they say, hey, we got all this stuff here and all that. And you say, I'm lawyering up. Does the cop turn around and walk out the door and say, well, we can't charge him at this point? It makes me lose my mind every time I think about this. The police officer is going to arrest you on the spot. It's as simple as that. I know it sounds like I'm bashing the OPP, but it's OPP bashing time. For a change, the mayor's off the hook at this point. So anyway, the officer says they've lawyered up. And as far as the other case, they're still investigating it. I get an email that he says to me, and I'm paraphrasing this slightly, and I have a copy of this email. And the email says, we don't get paid enough money basically to do these type of frauds in Haldimand County. $230,000 fraud. And as a result, probably even if they got charged, they'd get a slap on the wrist. Well, I guess that's wrong. Because it's not $230,000 fraud. At this point, it's more to deal with the county that he's talking about at this point. So I take that back. He says that they don't have enough money to deal with this type of fraud pertaining to the county investigation. And he then says, if we charge them, they'll likely just get a slap on the wrist. So judge, jury, and prosecutor, as far as I'm concerned. So I write back to him and I send an email blasting this officer, and I said, the next time I'm going down Highway 3 at $1.50, your officer pulls me over, I'm going to pull this letter and I'm going to show it to the judge and say, if they can't deal with a serious fraud like this, how can they give me, a normal citizen, a speeding ticket? That's ridiculous. So the officer then asked me to repeat all of specifically what happened with the county, and I'll do it quickly for you. The accusation at this point is that the employee created the document herself or destroyed the original document, recreated the new document, because I forgot to mention, by the way, that she's actually friends with the seller of the property. Yeah, one of those things I just forgot to mention. And you'll hear it in the audio tape, by the way. So she recreated the document, signed on behalf of the owner, passed it off as a fraudulent document, and then when the lawsuit got going, in the possession of the county, the document signature gets erased, and then that's pretty much it. So we're thinking fraud, conspiracy to fraud, uttering false municipal documents, you know, just to name a few things, right? So the officer says, okay, I'm going to look into this. So what happens is this officer realizes now that, let's see, they have lost the entire investigation in the first place. They bumbled it to the point where the original people have now got off all their fraud charges because they've lawyered up. I gotta remember that one. Speeding ticket, lawyered up. Broke into house, lawyered up. Got sued for this video, lawyered up. Anyway, so this officer now he says, you know what, we want to do an independent review of this, given what's happened with this case. So what we're going to do is we're going to send it over to the Norfolk OPP. Norfolk OPP? Haldimand OPP. Norfolk OPP? OPP. I mean, really, guys, the independent review of the same you know, if you'd sent it to the Hamilton police or something, I could understand that being independent, but it's the OPP, for God's sakes. But I will give that officer credit. The one from the Norfolk OPP, he did his investigation. Actually, he did his job. What he did is he actually went to the county. He spoke to people. What I'd like to point out is the investigating officer in Haldimand County, he actually wrote me an email at one time, said, don't tell Karen General you're talking to me because I'm actually talking to her. Like they're like buddies. Well, that's kind of odd. Anyway, this officer actually goes there and he actually says, I looked at the signature of the one document. I agree with you. It looks like it's been photocopied. And then he looked at the other document that Miss Lamb signed and he says, okay, so Randy, I've done my investigation now. This is like, I don't know, 2015, 2006. I've lost track now. Like, this is like, I'm going to be an old guy by the time this thing ever gets to court. I'm already old, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so he says, so what do you think the Haldimand people are going to say when I accuse them of all of this stuff? And I said, well, they're probably going to deny it. He says, well, interestingly enough, they got legal advice, and the employee admits to signing the document. You got it. She admits to signing the document, probably because we have an audio tape that she actually said she's going to sign the document. She admits to it. Yay! We got enough. Finally, Randy's vindicated. He's telling the truth. Yeah! No, it's short-lived. Yeah, because apparently the OPP said, I can't prove intent, so I can't charge her with fraud. Okay, criminal law lawyers, calm down. Calm down, seriously. If you want to make comments below, you go right ahead, because vent. Go ahead, vent. It's right at the bottom of the video here. See, intent. What is intent? I intended to sign the document. I intended to pass it off as a false document. I intended to cooperate with the conspiracy to hide the fact that I did this in the first place. I'm pretty sure intent is you meant to do it in the first place. Sorry, I've seen me blowing a couple gaskets myself. Anyway, so, wow. So the OPP just do nothing with it. Like, and it's not that there's not enough evidence to charge him, because he says, actually, you could go lay a criminal charge yourself. So let's see, I want to spend the next 3 or 4 years in criminal court representing myself, fighting the county on something that I know is absolutely true. Maybe I should. I don't know. Interesting sidebar to all of this. See, in 2010, I decided that it wasn't about suing people. No. We need to resolve this. We need to change this county because we're better than this. We're Haldimand County. So I call the mayor up and I want to have a meeting with him. And me and the mayor meet at my favorite restaurant amongst a bunch of witnesses, including one witness who was very interested in knowing what the mayor was going to say after all this. And they saw me actually give the mayor a copy of the CD of Nancy Lamb admitting to having this document and, you know, what transpired, as I've said. So the mayor, in 2010, had a copy of the CD. What? I'd just like to add, the mayor had said to me in 2010, the first time I met Mr. Hewitt, he said, being a mayor of Haldimand County is like the Dutch kid with the dikes. Every day it's a different hole I got to plug somewhere else. Mr. Mayor, actually, if you didn't plug the holes with your finger and you actually went around and actually repaired the stuff that needed to be repaired after 8 years of being in power, things might have changed. But every time, you only got 10 fingers, so if you plug this hole and you go to the next, after 10, you got to move your finger. Still going to have the hole there. Unemployment line. Just saying. Anyway, so does the mayor give a copy of the CD to anybody? I can tell you Karen General says she never got it. I can tell you Mr. Marinek said he never saw it. I can tell you the lawyers all involved, several of them all the way along the line, have said they've never seen this CD. You can imagine how upset they were when not only the CD turned up, but a transcript copy of that CD turned up at the civil action. I feel so good that I tape recorded that. I feel so good that I tape recorded that in the meeting with Karen General and Mr. Marinek, where they admitted that they would break the law to avoid a civil action. You know, it goes to show you what kind of people we have running this county. Now, back to the mayor. Because, you know, we were bashing the OPP, we're back to the mayor at this point. The mayor doesn't give a copy of the CD to anybody. But I can tell you that of recent, I did a video about me and the mayor, but him threatening me with slander, or that he was going to sue me for slander and all this sort of stuff. And in one of the emails, he does a little bit of a boo-boo. And I say boo-boo because, well, I'm telling you, he got a copy of that CD. And I'm telling you, there's likely witnesses to that event. So I wouldn't make this accusation very lightly, because I'm telling you that the mayor says in his email that he would not comment publicly on this because he knows nothing about it. Now, you've had a CD, you've had a sit-down conversation with me talking about the event, but you know nothing about it. Why would a mayor say that? Why would any politician say that? Probably because, I don't know, conspiracy to defraud means if you have knowledge of something that was criminal and you're part of hiding it, I don't know what could happen to you. We are at election time too, and I'm sure people would not like to know that the mayor knew this stuff took place and did nothing about it. But he did say in that letter, I think it was one of those emails, he says, the CAO is responsible for the staff at Haldimand County. So, my opinion is the CAO should get his ass fired, because if he's allowing fraud to take place and conspiracy of fraud and all of this sort of stuff, then he's clearly not in control of the county. So either he should start firing people or he should get fired. One of the two. This lady is going to retire, from what I understand, with a full pension, and she committed this criminal act. How does that happen? This is where things have to change with politics, where if our politicians are caught doing stuff that they're lying, or they're doing criminal stuff, or even the people at our county are doing this stuff, they should go to jail. They shouldn't get a pension. I know I'm not getting a pension. I've had to work my butt off all my life. I don't get a pension, and I haven't lied or cheated to anybody. I don't know. In the end, what I want you to gather from this video is quite simple. What I've told you is true. It's not propaganda. You know, for me saying this stuff out loud, I could get in a lot of trouble if I was lying about this stuff. This is all 100% true. Mr. Hewitt, the reason I'm doing this is because, just like anybody, we watch you on the discussion forums and we see how arrogant you're being with us as people that have voted you in. People who had faith in that you were going to do your job. And basically, we're all saying, hey, we've had enough. And the responses that I've seen to people that have raised questions and concern, and how you just dismiss them and you're arrogant. I guess the best thing that could possibly happen is for me not to say, vote how you want. I think what should happen is people should share this video, and more importantly, I think they should go to these discussion groups and look at how you're talking to people on these discussion groups, Mr. Hewitt. I'm pretty sure that will decide the outcome of this election, which is just pretty much around the corner. I can't say that Haldimand County caused the failure of my business. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying what Haldimand County did was sneaky, underhanded. It was criminal as far as I'm concerned. And I think that if you're listening to this and you listen to the audio tape that gets played, you're going to be as shocked as I am when you realize that this is all 100% true. I actually did a meeting in Cayuga where I spoke of this out loud, and I told people this is what went on. I had people afterwards coming up to me and saying, you should not say these things out loud, because if they're not true, you could get in a lot of trouble. I said, but they are true. I'm not lying about this. This is 100% what happened to me, and this is what happened to my company, and these are what these people did. Clearly, Karen General knew, and so did Mark Marinak, that Miss Lamb had done this, and they've hidden the fact, and they used their power to try and threaten and intimidate me. Those people should not be in those jobs. The fact is, we're taxpayers. They work for us. We don't work for them. And when I have to battle my county for something that I'm entitled to, or that something that they should have done properly, that's ridiculous. You know, I look at the people who are running now, Mr. McClung, and I'm trying to think of the other lady, Taylor or something. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, and I know that's terrible. And it's not to say that I'm voting for Mr. McClung and I'm voting for this lady. Both of them have equally answered those questions on the internet that I have posted, and I am eternally grateful that you took the time to do that. As far as an inquiry, Mr. McClung had said that he feels that it might be a little overkill. And you know, the interesting part of that is that this is what politics are all about. I have the opinion that it's not overkill. He does. He thinks it is. And it's like, for me, as being a taxpayer, and a judicial inquiry, if asked for by the council in general, doesn't cost us as taxpayers a dime. However, if you ask for an independent audit, that independent audit has to be paid for by the community, or by council, or by the county, I guess. So I guess that's my only input to this, would be I think that it would be better served to have a judicial independent inquiry into this, whereas, you know, the other thing may not be independent as much as we would like, and be more transparent. I think that any mayor, pertaining to the other question that I had out there, was if any mayor takes a gift, he should lose his job. Mayor Hewitt has fully admitted in an email to me, and it has been backed up by Karen General. The only thing that was different is that Mr. Hewitt actually says, I got golf days, and they were paid for by the Niagara Wind. Now, aside from the fact that we were all, I can't say I was here fighting it, I wasn't part of that, but that the community was fighting the wind turbines, and Mr. Hewitt, you know, he gives this argument that he's for green energy, but he's not for how it was implemented. I'm sorry, I'm for green energy, however we get there. It's terrible how the provincial government screwed it all up, but that's what happens with governments. When they try to do this stuff, they don't get it right all the time. But we still are green powered. I don't have a big smokestack sitting in front of my house anymore. I'm quite happy with all of that. Yeah, I got all these wind turbines I got to look at. But in the end, it's still green power. We're doing our part. So for Mr. Hewitt to say, well, I don't believe in the management part of it, I'm sorry. When you did the commercial, there was no management part at that time. When you did the moratorium, I don't believe there was any management. It didn't come till later that we knew about this. So for you to now say that you don't believe in the management, it's an easy way to get out. You're a really smart guy when it comes to talking about finances, but not so much when it comes about real life situations. You kind of get caught up in stuff all the time. And much as I've seen on the discussion board, you get shut down more times than I care to think about. Your answer to things is be arrogant and ignore the person. Mr. McClung, on the other hand, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to speak in positive for anybody else. I'm talking about the mayor right now as far as his conduct pertaining to the Samsung commercials, and more importantly, admitting that he didn't get the money. What happened is somebody paid for the golf days. That's still a gift by way of a third party. Somebody paid for him to go do this thing. That's wrong. What's next? Is he going to be driving around people's cars? Here, drive. I'm going to say this because I was going to say a large dealer in this area, but I think that would be a bad thing to say. So I'm going to say Mickey Mouse is giving the mayor a car to drive around, and he can drive that car all he wants. That's a gift. It doesn't matter. When you do election stuff and people pay for your sign, you have to declare that stuff. And there's a reason for that, because it's still sort of like the money you're getting to support your campaign. That's why the government does this sort of stuff, to watch, to make sure this doesn't happen. What scares me is the mayor fully admits that he does this kind of stuff when it comes to, well, like he said, I go and do these campaign things, and people pay for this stuff all the time, and I see nothing wrong with it. That's the problem. You see nothing wrong with it. So in response to my question online, in regards to should the mayor be accepting third-party payments, no, absolutely not. All the other candidates have answered it. I don't think the mayor has. I don't think he will answer it, because I already know what the answer is. So yeah, that's what. There was that. The employees did the fraud stuff. Well, clearly this video spells out what I was thinking when it comes to fraud. And I think most of the mayors or the candidates have answered that. Mayor, again, hasn't answered that. And there was one other question I asked, and I can't remember for the life of me what it is right now. But I'm sure Mr. Hewitt will remind me somewhere along the line. Anyway, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, because it's really important for me. I got to be quite honest with you that all of the stuff that happened with my company and everything, it was a horrible life experience. It's something I never want to experience in my life again. I hope to God that people out there never have to go what I went through with the county, and being called a liar and all this stuff. And in the end, even though it's been proven that I was telling the truth, it doesn't seem like anybody knows till now. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. It is time to vote. It's coming up. You got to get out there. You got to cast your ballot. You got to make sure that we get a change here in Haldimand County. This is a great community. We have great people here. We just need to make sure that the people who are running our county run it in the way we want it run, not the way they want to run it. And I want to clarify, it's just not strictly the county employees, sorry, the elected officials we have to see a change in. It is the people that work at the county, the senior management staff who think they're untouchable. Those are the people we have to affect change the most to, even though some of them look like they're going to retire pretty soon. But we have to make sure that the people coming in aren't going to be acting the same way those people are. Maybe we'd avoid a lot of lawsuits if people actually sat down and had a conversation and tried to work things out. Wouldn't that be a unique sort of perspective to Haldimand County? Hey, come to Haldimand County. If we get in the middle of a lawsuit or something, we're going to talk to you rather than sue you. And we sure as heck won't accuse you of lying when you're telling the truth. We'll sit down and we'll actually have a educated conversation. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Sorry I got a little carried away there for a second. It just, blood gets boiling when I start talking about this. Thanks very much for watching.